How do we go about balancing the accounts, and then how we can be able now to employ or use those particular balances to develop our balance sheet? I'm just going to have several accounts here, and from those particular accounts we shall be able to see and observe how the transactions were recorded. This is the account. This is just my extract. This is just an extract where I have just also omitted the other columns. So my interest in this discussion, I'm interested only on the amount. So don't mind that I have really left the others. They are supposed to be there. It's only that I'm only interested now with amounts only. So these are going to be my extract. I have an extract here. I also have another extract here where I'm just extracting the amount so that we see how we usually close off that particular account. In this case here, it means that there was nothing that happened within our cash in hand as far as the credit side is concerned. So when I extract this amount, I'm just going to press them here. I have extracted them, and therefore I get the total of that particular amount, and the total that I have here must be equal to the total on the credit side. Total on the debit side must be equal to the total on the credit side. So where do I get the balancing figure? So I just press my balancing figure here, which will, of course, as far as this account is concerned, will be the same amount, so that now we can close down this particular account. Suppose we have another account called capital here. This particular capital, you can see we have the transaction on the credit side. There was nothing that was recorded on the debit side. I want to extract these figures. So here I'm just having the extracts. So whatever I'm having is just extracts. So we are supposed to have the full amount. Actually, I'm supposed to indicate the total here. I'm supposed to indicate the total here, but I'm just extracting so that I can be able to see, or we can be able to see these figures very well. So when I extract those particular figures, this is the total. So this total must be the same with this total. We usually look at which side is bigger than the other. So when you are trying to balance, we look at which side is bigger than the other, and therefore we look for that particular balancing figure. So here the balancing figure will be on this side, so that now whatever we have here, you add them, you get this figure. Whatever we have here, you add them, you get this figure. Let's also go to the cash at bank. I extract some working also on the same account. So if you look at this account here, we have recorded the amount on this side, and we have also recorded the amount on this side. It appears like this account had some transactions which were affecting the debit side, and also some transactions which were affecting the credit side. So what we are going to do, we look for the balancing figure. So I extract these figures for the matter of workings. I have extracted them here. I've also extracted this figure. I also have my figures here. These are my figures. So I look at which side is greater than the other. So appear like this side is greater than this. So we add these two, you get all this amount. But when you add these two, you cannot get all this amount. So we have to look for that particular amount, which is the balancing figure, or the amount which we can be able to place here, so that when you have this plus this plus this, it is going to give us the total, so that now these totals can be similar. This is our balancing figure. So this is our balancing figure on this side, so that now the total can be equal. How simple it is to do this. We proceed on recording our transactions in terms of the balances. I have also some more examples in this particular area. We have the equipment. We have the equipment here. This is an account, and you can see that there was nothing that was recorded at the end of the year on this other side, but this account has some amount. I extract it. I have extracted those amounts. You can observe them here very clearly, and we look for the balancing figure. So we need the total of this. We need the total of 46 million plus now 5,520,000. So that particular total should also balance also on the other side. I'm just trying to develop another simpler way of balancing this account, because at the end of the day, what we need is this balancing carry down. So therefore, the figure that I have here will be supposed to be equal to the figure that I'm supposed to have on the other side. So I will be able to get the balance carried down. This account, I have really closed it without even indicating those totals, but I can be able to get my balance carried down, which is the crucial amount that we need. We also have another account here, which is our stock. This is also another account called stock. You can see nothing took place on this other side. So we have this amount well recorded. This is the amount. We have our amount here. We look for the balance carried down. We have the balance carried down, and then I close that account by putting whatever I'm putting at the end here. Then we go to this other account which we are calling the debtors account. Look at this debtors account. It shows that there were some transactions which were recorded on the debit side, and we also have some transactions which were recorded on the credit side. So we must look for the balancing figure. If you extract them, I have my value here, and I also have the other value here. So I look for the balancing figure. So you find that we need 23 here. We have 23 here, 23,080,000, which is supposed also to be on this other side, 23,080,000. So we look for the balancing figure. Then also, if we look at all these different balances that I've really indicated here, whenever we have a balance on this side, that is the concept that I want to introduce. Whenever we have balance, if I go back to the equipment, whenever we have the balance on this side, that particular balance is called a debit balance. So the balance carried down, if it is going to follow on this credit side, then that particular balancing figure is called a debit balance. So it means that our equipment account has a debit balance. We shall be able to see where this debit balance is. And then if you go to the debtors account, it has what we call a debit balance. If you look at our stock, it also has a debit balance. And that is something that we said very well, that when we have these different accounts that we are calling the asset account, they are always supposed to have debit balances. These are our balancing figures. So where are we going to apply these concepts? So let's just keep these particular figures, and then we see where we can be able to employ them. We proceed on with our accounts. We also have more accounts here which we are supposed to balance, and therefore we have an account here which we are calling the motor vehicle. We try to balance that particular figure, and you can observe very clearly the balance will be on this side. That will be a debit balance. Also, we go back to our creditor here. The creditor, there were some transactions which were captured within this account, but now we require to close down that particular account by balancing it. That is what we are going to do. So we go to the creditors account. When you're trying to close down, then you'll be able to observe the balance will be on this side. So you get the totals on this side, you get the totals on this other side, then you look for the balancing figure. So the balancing figure of this creditors account will be on this side, which we are referring to as a credit balance. So when the balance is on this side, is usually referred to as a debit balance. When the balance is on this other side, is usually referred to as a credit balance. We shall be able to observe very clearly within our next move. There we are now with our comprehensive analysis of our various accounts. We have our accounts here with us. So all the accounts that we were trying to close down. So given all these various accounts with their respective balances, I would like us now we generate what we call a trial balance. Look at the cash in hand. What was the closing balance? The closing balance was a debit balance. Therefore, when I'm trying to open that particular balance within my trial balance, it will be a debit balance. This is a debit balance. If you go to the next item, which is equipment, the closing balance was on this side, and we said very clearly when the balance is on this side, it is usually at the debit balance. It will be a debit balance when now you shall be opening the same account the following year. So that being said is a debit balance, you shall place it here as an opening balance. You can see now, being a closing balance, it will be just an opening balance following year, which is a debit balance. Then we go to the next account, which is our capital. Capital, where is the balance? This is a credit balance. So when the balance is on this side, we said it is going to be a credit balance. So this particular account, when you shall open this account the following year, we have said is a credit balance, so it shall appear here. So we go back now to our trial balance, and our capital has a credit balance. Then the next item here is our debtors. Look at the debtors. After doing all the transaction, this is where the balance was. This is a debit balance. So our debtor has a debit balance. Of course, what we said, unless otherwise stated, assets will always have debit balances, and then capital and liability will always have credit balances. Then we go to the next account, which is cash at bank. Cash at bank, look at where the balance is. This is a debit balance. So being a debit balance, we come here to our trial balance, then we place it where it is necessary as a debit balance. Then we go to motor vehicle. Motor vehicle has a debit balance. So we have motor vehicle having a debit balance. Remember, these are our debit balances, closing balances, which we are calling the debit balance. Then we go to our stock. Our stock is there with us. You can see also it has a debit balance. The balance is here. This is a debit balance. Our creditor, the balance is on this other side. It is on this side, and therefore this is going to be a credit balance. So you come here and then you record that credit balance. So what we can observe very clearly is that asset will always have debit balances, and then credit, and we have the creditors and also the capital will have what we call a credit balance. So in total, we are able to observe here that our trial balance is balancing. It is supposed to balance all what we have within our debit, unless otherwise, then it's supposed to balance with all what we have within our credit. So we have our totals here, which is now, these are the balances which we are going to use to develop what we call our balance sheet. So you can see that a trial balance is just a list of balances which are usually extracted from our ledgers. These are our various accounts which are going to help us and facilitate us to develop what we are referring to our trial balance. With our trial balance and the various respective balances, these are helping us, or they will facilitate us now to generate our final statement, or what we call our balance sheet. And because we have the balances and where they are supposed to be placed within our balance sheet, we come up with our format, which is our vertical format. And we can observe very clearly within our non-current assets. These are long-term assets which are not intended to be traded within the business. We have them here. We have the equipment, and we also have the motor vehicle. Those are the two that we have within our question. And then we go to our current asset. Where are our current assets? We have the stock. The stock is there with us. We also have the debtors. The debtors is also there with us. We have the debtors, or our credit customers. We also have the cash at bank. We are extracting our balances from our trial balance. So we have the cash in hand. Cash in hand is there. Then we can be able to add all those current assets. These are the assets which are usually acquired for the purposes of trading. You add them, you get the figure. You add also the non-current asset, you also get the figure. Those particular two figures, you add them so that you can be able to get the total asset. Total asset is composed of the current asset and also the non-current asset. Those assets are going to be financed by who? They are going to be financed by capital. So we come back here and then we extract our capital figure. So we can also observe very clearly we have our capital, and then the only liability that we have is our current liability, which is our creditor. So this is our creditor. You also extract it there, and there we are. If you add these two, we are going to get a figure here, which is our total capital and liability. The figure that we have here must always be equal to the figure that we have here. So this is a very comprehensive analysis where we are moving all the way from trying to close off our accounts, and then by closing off our accounts, we are able to get those balances, and then we come up with a list of balances which we are calling the trial balance. And then from those various balances that we have within our trial balance, we can be able to come up with our comprehensive balance sheet. So there we are, which is well balancing. And that is how simple we are able now to close down the various accounts. We extract those particular what we call the balances, and at the same time we use those various balances to develop what we call our balance sheet.